guys are veteran players. They know how to play the game. But if you think about a basketball shot, it's actually very complex. When you teach little kids when they're first starting out how to shoot, there's a lot of things you have to think about. You have to look for the threads on the ball. They basically tell you to put your hand under the ball, make sure your elbows are tucked in, make sure your strong hand is under the ball, your weak hand on the side of the ball so you can support it. And when you take the shot, you bend your knees, you lift up, you follow through with your fingertips to get the backspin. Right, Coach Steve? Okay, that's about it, right? That's fundamental. Now, that's about 10 steps that I just told you. So think about the NBA players. If they had to think about those 10 steps every time they take a shot, they wouldn't be taking shots, right? When you're a veteran player, you're already, those fundamentals are already embedded in you. They're involuntary. You don't have to think about it. It's unconscious. And the term I like to use is second nature to you. So I was thinking about things as a Christian. What if we made God second nature? Everything we do, whether it's grief, whether it's sorrow, whether it's happiness, whether it's worry, we make God second nature. One of the things that that gave me the idea was something that we actually do every day as Christians that's second nature to us. Any ideas? 3 times a day we do it. Eat. What do we do when we eat? We give thanks. So when the server brings the food to you and puts that plate on your table, you don't have to tell yourself, don't pick up that fork, or in our case, the pair of chopsticks, right? You automatically close your eyes and you pray. You don't have to think about it. It's second nature to us. What if we did that for everything we did, no matter what the situation is? So one example a couple examples I can share with you is during the downturn, I was working for a CPA firm. And all the departments, every department pretty much had every department already had one person get laid off, except for our department. And I was a low one on a totem pole, so I kind of knew it was coming. So my boss asked me to go into his office at 10 a.m., and I kind of knew it was coming. And at that time, that was my 5th time being laid off in my career. So I kind of knew the spiel already. I knew the HR director was in the office with us, and it was the same old thing. This is my 5th time doing it, so I kind of knew what he was going to say. So while I was sitting there, the first thing I tried to pop in my mind is, okay, God has a plan. There's a reason for it. God will help me through this. He's never let me down in my career. Financially, I've been so blessed, and that's another different story. I've been very blessed with God, and I know He's going to help me out in one way or another. So I sat through it for 1 hour. I got out of the office at 11 o'clock. 1 hour later, at 12 o'clock, I got a call from my old boss that I haven't heard from for 5 years, and he asked me if I'm looking for a job. 1 hour after I got laid off. Now, the flip side of that is 2 years later, he fired me. And that one wasn't as good because I got laid off for 15 months. But what I did know during those 15 months is I looked for a job every day, of course. I'd send my resumes, whatever I could. And the downturn was still trying to come up a little bit. It wasn't very good at all. I had like maybe 2 interviews the whole year of 2012. But what I did do is I tried to make up my time by doing something else. So I was playing basketball 5 nights a week and playing 3 rounds of golf a week. That's why I dropped my index to 17. But after I started, and then I also lost 20 pounds. So I got a taste of retirement. I loved it. So the point here is that, if you kind of let...
Talk about your mom.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's my second example was my mom. It's a little bit more, not as a little bit more depressing. My mom passed away July 2012, about almost 3 years ago. And what happened was that when she was in hospice during her chemo, she asked for a Cantonese-speaking hospice nurse. And I got a call from her saying that your mom just accepted Christ as personal savior. And I was thinking, I said, wow, how did that happen? And she was telling me, well, what happened was when we were when the campus was not moved yet, when San Leandro main campus was here, we started a service in Alameda Connection by Pastor Dave. and some of you came over here from there. And every Saturday or Sunday for 5 years, I set up chairs for the service. And my mom saw that. So without even knowing it, my mom actually accepted Christ, and I was witnessing to her by doing this service for the church. The way I look at it is that the other thing I want to mention is that I moved back in with my mom at that time for about 10 years. And she really enjoyed her last 10 years. She was ballroom dancing, Las Vegas trips, slot machine tournaments, cruises, and of course, mahjong. She was the only person I know up to this point that can come out of chemotherapy, and 3 days later, she can spend 12 hours on a mahjong table. I mean, I couldn't even spend 12 hours on a mahjong table. But she enjoyed her life. She worked hard. She took care of the family. At times, I think she was working 2 jobs. I helped her when at the printing shop when I was a teenager. She worked a lot of hours. And the last 10 years, she was able to enjoy herself. And to know that and hear that she accepted Christ as her Savior, it just gives me this really good feeling that, God has a plan for everything. And to summarize, I kind of thought of a way that kind of would help if you want to be able to do this for yourself as well. It's not easy. It takes time. To have that basketball shot or whatever sport it is, whether it's tennis or basketball, it takes practice. So that's one of the things you need to do. You need to practice this. You need to kind of consciously tell yourself, hey, no matter what the situation is, God is there for you. He has a reason for it. Whether it's good or bad, whether you agree or not, there's a reason for it. So there's always a positive side. You have to practice it, and you pray about it. God is always going to hear your prayer. He may not agree with your prayer, but He's going to hear it. And if He doesn't agree with it, there's a reason for it. The verse that I usually share with this message is Matthew 6:34. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. There's enough worry today. There's enough problem with today. So don't worry about the future. Don't worry what's going to happen tomorrow. Thank God what you have for today. And that's a different message.